Yeah, okay, time to live free. Plenty goals I'm achieving. Some real life topics and talking financial freedom. Mindset, soul and love, everything in between. This is Freedom Podcast. Tune in, live free. Hey, got my mindset right and I got the drive. Planning one day, no more job, no more 9 to 5. Love money, mine. Love money, mine. This is freedom. Tune in, cause it's going down. Woo!
Hi, this is Anna, and welcome to another episode of Your Freedom Podcast. In this episode, we interview Danny Hamm. Danny is an exceptional character. He has been building his online business for many years now, and he focuses on leading exceptional people in this online space. You're going to love this interview. He's had a battling journey and come out the other side, and it's great to have Danny on the show. Hey. So, Danny Hamm, welcome to the show.
What's up, Anna? Good to be here.
I was trying to work out, actually, how long we have known each other. It's got to be like 3 years, I reckon.
Yeah.
It's got to be about that time, isn't it?
Well, so when I joined SFM at the time, right? So that was October of 18. And I bought the Import Experts thing, and you sent me like a message about, hey, what's up? I'm Anna. I help people do cool things, you know? And I responded, I'm like, I need to do this other thing first, but I'm gonna get back to it. And then so I built my affiliate business, and then when it was time to learn products, I hit you back up and then pestered you consistently for quite a while. I'm super grateful for your help. Yeah.
So I know obviously you've been, building your e-commerce part of your business, but I think this is why I wanted you to come on the show, because there's a part of Danny Hamm that not many people have met, like, or know. Do you know what I mean? Like, some of obviously the members in the community do, but the world needs to know Danny, because I know that you focus a lot on mindset and what is your tagline? Leadership in
Leader of exceptional people.
Exceptional people. But for me, I think you're a real motivator as well.
Well,
And I think you can really break things down. You have people at your heart, and I think you don't always see that when people are doing, whether it's crypto, whether it's Amazon, whether it's building products online. There's a personal brand behind it, and I know we're going to hear all about living grateful and what all that's about. But I do think you have a real impact on people's motivation and leadership, like you're saying, with leading exceptional people, which I know you were saying some people think is you're going to take over the government and be the next Prime Minister. But I do think you are a good leader in people,
Yeah, I'm definitely not electable. Let's just go there, okay? I'm not an electable human. Plus, I have no idea what's going on in the world. I haven't watched news in like a decade.
That's like me.
I'm totally clueless.
In my own world, I'm not interested in all that negativity.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit more about you. Like, how did you, because you are really good with people, sort of like, what did you do after you left school, and where did everything begin on this kind of like online journey that you're going through right now?
Wow. That's a lot to unpack, man.
Listen, we've only got half an hour, yeah?
Yeah, right. So you said I left school, like college, yeah?
Yeah.
So all right, so I went to school at the university, in Gainesville, Florida. Go Gators, right? And I lived there for a long time. I've always sold something, and I've always been blessed to sell something that I believe in. Like anything that I've ever sold, I believe helps people. I did medical sales I just kind of fell into that, because I don't have a medical background. I have a business background. Did that for almost 15 years,
Was that physical medical stuff, like equipment and things like that?
Yeah. So like my specialty was nuclear medicine, but we did all types of, diagnostic imaging like CTs and MRIs and service the hospitals, and just, it was cool.
You had a similar path then, because I worked for Pfizer for years. So
okay, all right,
medical sales, or from the the drug
right.
aspect. So
Yeah. I did that.
I think you've got to be good at building relationships. And I think like you say, I think a lot of people who are people go into sales when they're younger because of that. Building relationships, having a bit of fun.
Yeah.
you
I
know.
think I think it's a how do you say it's a path that way, right? Because if you enjoy being around people, um, it's kind of natural, you know. But I think that once you get to like the higher levels of being like a professional salesperson, you know, like I would meet people like, well, what do you do? And I sell shit, and they'll be like, oh well, you'd be good at that. Like you're personable, you're extroverted, you know. And
Yeah,
I'm like, yeah, but that's like such a small part of it, right? Like the most
yeah,
successful salespeople, they're organized and they're persistent and they help people solve problems. And there's like all these other things. It's not just, somebody might like you, but that doesn't mean they're going to invest hundreds of thousands of dollars into your product or your right.
exactly. Exactly.
Like they might want to go to lunch, but they're not going to buy your stuff. So it's, yeah, it's, I think it definitely does help, being personable and liking people, but, yeah, there's a lot more to being a good salesperson.
Definitely, definitely, yeah. And
Yeah.
so after you did your medical sales, what did you do then?
Well, so I had that job for almost 15 years, and that was and I loved it. You know what I mean? Like the people that I worked with were super cool.
Yeah,
It was a good culture, and it grew and grew into like this massive thing, and it's a little more corporate, than my style, now. And but back in the time I got, addiction is part of my story, right?
yeah,
So I was, I am an addict, and so I took that journey, towards the end of that, and took time off to like focus on my recovery and like build a foundation.
yeah,
Then went back to medical sales, for a couple of years, and then we parted ways on great terms. Like I'm still really good friends with everybody there,
yeah, yeah,
but I had done this. I changed pretty much everything else in my life, right? Like just my health, like
yeah,
just my outlook, and all of these things. And I was like, okay, well, what do I want to do now? Like
yeah,
I've always done some kind of sales, right? And so it was like I wanted some time freedom. Like that was what I kind of figured out. Like I want to do something that gives me the ability to spend my time how I want to spend it, you
mm,
know?
yeah,
And I just randomly came across an ad on YouTube. Like I was at the gym, like stretching out, listening to some Tony Robbins on YouTube, and this ad popped up, from this little Australian cat that used to be a truck driver and, is now building an online business and had this time freedom. And I'm like, huh, he was just super believable, and I'm
yeah,
I'm like, that's interesting, So I checked it out when they do this landing page that I now know it's called, and yeah, I got these videos and that got the ball rolling. That's when I started really diving into online business, man, learning a
yeah.
whole new skill. Because as we know, like I'm not a tech dude, right? So it was super intimidating, but yeah, well worth it, man. That's what started my journey
You
online.
started, yeah, yeah. And you've like you say, you've done also you've got your physical products that we were just talking about selling on your website and Amazon and all that kind of stuff. And then you also do some stuff around trading, don't you, in crypto?
Yeah, so the first thing that I learned was affiliate marketing. That was the first business that I learned, and in doing that, uh it taught me the different aspects of
Yeah,
how do you market. How do you, like, I know how to have an impactful message, but how do you reach the right person with that message? So I learned a lot, man, with that training. And so the affiliate marketing was the first thing I did, and then I, with your help, Jay's help, I got products on Amazon, sold them, and that was okay. Like I thought it was neat. I enjoyed that some, and then I got into, through people, somebody that we know in the community, just learning about blockchain, and learning about this crazy, crazy new world that we live in now with that, and so I just put a lot of time and energy into growing that and kind of building a team that we just learn about crypto and blockchain projects and build passive income streams, and
yeah.
and do all this stuff, man.
I
It's neat.
think once you kind of like get into this online world, you start realizing there is all of these different multiple income streams that you can start generating. That like you start with one, don't you? Like you say, you learned with the whole affiliate marketing stuff, and then that led you on to other things with e-commerce, and then now like with blockchain, just like once you get one kind of like business set up or funnel set up, then it's quite easy to start repeating the process with different kind of tech processes or systems and all that kind of stuff. Because I know I've felt like things just got quite addictive over the years. Like you just see these different opportunities, and obviously the online world is changing really fast, especially since like ChatGPT and like you say the crypto market and blockchain and all that kind of stuff. So it's awesome listening to how that journey started because I didn't know all of that detail. Um, I think sometimes it's also quite difficult in this day and age, and this is why I put this whole podcast together because, as you know, I left a really abusive marriage. Did go through a really difficult time, but I hid it from my online following because I felt like, oh yeah, it's a taboo topic. Um, Other people will think badly of me. Or there's all these like crap in my head that I thought, and I was like, there's just one that I think I wrote a chapter in a book, and I knew it was then going to start to come out, and I thought, well, now I've got an opportunity to either just talk about it, and I actually selfishly was doing it for me. People are like, oh, it's amazing you shared that story to help other people. And I was like, no, 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 don't be fooled. I
Hmm.
was actually initially doing it for me because I had this like weight on my shoulders that because social media these days, everyone's perfect. I talk about the pajama families at Christmas a lot on here. Everyone's trying to be something that they really aren't. And we show the perfect side of our lives, but actually it doesn't really help people who are going through crap. Because at the time
Yeah.
when I felt bad, I was looking at everybody else thinking, God, everyone's having an amazing life. Now I realise that actually people are just sharing that part of their life, and actually they could have all sorts of challenges, but they're just choosing not to share it. So I think it's important we talk about life not being perfect, even if it's like when you started your affiliate path or your e-commerce business, you know, I'm sure you didn't make like 20K like in 30 days. It just doesn't, we see all these ads everywhere all the time. And I think, building a business takes graft and hard work, just as other things in your life do as well. And, being a solution person, you can always get through stuff. Um, but I just think that a lot of people that listen to this podcast, a lot of them could be going through struggles, whether that be a relationship problem, they might have lost a job, they might be starting an online business that they're thinking they're not really getting much outcomes yet, but are they doing the right thing? They could be, like say a marriage problem, or I've interviewed quite a few people that have gone through addictions. Recently been helping a lady actually who's a gambling addict, and well, she'd just gone through recovery, and she wanted to create a workbook for other people for all the different things that she'd learned in like a rehab and stuff. And that's been really rewarding for me to help her get that book out there. Because I think by sharing our stories and showing that life isn't perfect, it does help other people with the reality, of starting something or getting through something. It could even be a health condition that you're going through. Um, so for people who may be going through an addiction thing right now, and I know sometimes we don't want to highlight the negative, do we, when we got through something on our journey, but if someone's listening to this who can relate to what you said, what would you say? Because there's always a wake-up call, isn't there? There's always a part where you're like, you know what, no more of this shit, I need to change, I need to do something. Well, what would you advise them if they're kind of like in that loop of not really doing much about it, but they know that they should be? Or, what is the first step for people from your experience of kind of getting through that?
That's a lot to unpack, man. So just to answer that question directly, right, first question. So I don't have any advice. I have my experience,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
And
yeah.
so my experience from myself personally and from the thousands of meetings I've been to and the people I sponsor and for however long I've been in recovery has just been you can't make anybody do anything until they're ready, right? And
Yeah,
if somebody is in that spot and they're listening to this, there's no question if your life gets to the point where it's unmanageable, right? It's
yeah,
like, and people can't understand it unless you've experienced it. You know what I mean? It's like
yeah,
like using against your will, doing something against your will when you desperately, desperately want to stop. You don't want to do it, but you just can't,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
people can't relate to that shit unless they've lived it, right? And when people get to that point and they get to whatever your bottom is, everybody's bottom is different. Some
Yeah.
people need to be homeless on the street or in prison, or like these horrible lows, and some people just get a DUI and they're like, man, this is out of control. It's just
Yeah.
everybody's is
Yeah.
different, right?
It is.
So,
Yeah.
my experience would just say that wherever you are, there's help. I'm part of a 12-step program. I can't tell you which one because they're anonymous, but find it, Google it. If you've got a
Yeah.
problem, there is a 12-step program in your area where there are tons of meetings of people who have made it through whatever you're going through. And all they want to do is help you, and it costs nothing. You just got to have the courage to walk in and say, hey, I need help.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And that is that first part in it, because I can relate to that with like domestic abuse, because everyone goes, just leave.
Right. Oh, I hadn't thought of that. Wow. It's like, hey, just stop using you. Like, boom. How did you come up with that?
I know, exactly. And it's like, it's ridiculous, because I actually used to prejudge people before I had that, went through that. Just like I remember in the corporate world, me always thinking the part-time mums were useless. And I'll be open to that. I used to think, God, they don't do any work. Us full-timers were like grafting. This was before I had kids. And then when I had kids, I went part-time. Right. I was like, oh, I think I might need to eat my words now, because actually I'm putting in probably more hours, because I'm still getting the same like KPIs I've got to hit in a short space of time. Like, I can't do the numbers over 5 days. I've got to do it over 3, which is actually a lot harder. And I realized, and I remember like a second line manager, I wanted to go for a manager job, and he went, I think until you're a parent, you got to be able to manage people who've got children. You're a better leader if you have got children. And I thought, but what about you don't want kids? Do you know what I mean? But then all of this, we prejudge people. I remember seeing like things with, women who've been like smashed in the face and all this kind of stuff, thinking, God, why didn't they leave? Until I was in that situation myself. So I think you're so right. Everything's different for everybody as well, because someone could say they're in an abusive relationship, and it's just someone that's really, really shouting at them, and there's a lot of mental stuff which is really bad. And then someone else could be, like hospitalized, and everyone's got their own story. It doesn't mean one is better or worse than the other. Because if it's impacting your life and you're not, you can't move forward and you can't grow, because my big thing was that I felt like my soul was dying. Um, and at my lowest point, I was going to go to accident and emergency and I didn't know what I was going for. I just knew I needed help, and I just wanted. It was like, I'm so glad I didn't, because if I had, my children would have been taken off me. But I
Yeah.
actually was so stuck in my life that I thought, I need help. So if I go to A&E and just say, help me, but I would have looked like a complete nutcase. Do you know what I mean? So I'm so glad I didn't, I actually, kind of didn't do that. But I think when you're in that moment, sometimes it can be a friend, can't it? Sometimes you can talk to someone that you really trust, and then they also support you into that next step. Or it may be a professional, whatever you go through. And I think it's okay to go through it, because I bloody am grateful. Talking about living grateful, I am so grateful that I went through that part of my journey, because it's made me successful in my business. It's made me a better mother, I think. It's made me a better daughter, a better friend. Just that whole experience has changed me. I used to be so bothered about what other people thought about me. Now I don't care.
Yeah.
So it's like, weirdly, I'm grateful for that journey. And I think people listening to it, like, don't feel like whatever your challenge is or whatever you're stuck in, there's someone that's gone through that. And I think by talking about it and knowing that everybody online hasn't got perfect lives. In fact, a lot of people that are the most successful have usually had something that's happened to them. And I was saying this to my son recently, who's been diagnosed with dyslexia. I was like, look at Elon Musk, look at all of these like successful entrepreneurs. It hasn't stopped them if they've been diagnosed with, like, a learning difficulty. So whatever our challenges we can actually spin that, and it can be our our route to success or happiness, you know.
Oh yeah, they say I've heard it, and I love the saying. It's make your mess your message, right? Because if people are perfect, like who relates to that? Nobody's fucking perfect. You know what I'm saying? So it's
Yeah,
like you know what I mean. Like the things that people relate to are the things that stand out is the adversity, right? It's one thing
definitely.
I learned: you don't judge people in any type of world. Like we can't say, oh, they should do this or they should do that because everybody's doing the best they can with what they have, right? It's like
Yeah,
I'm around people consistently that help so many people have a heart of gold, put in a ton of work to just make this world a better place. And years ago, they were living under a bridge and robbing people, right? And if you were about at the time, I would just pass by them and like judge them, right? But
yeah,
now, like I know these people now, and I'm just like, when you know their story and you know their past, and it's like, without that part of it, you don't have the ability to connect to people that you do right now, right? It's like when you go through a hard time, like you said, you're grateful that you went through that. It's like when you go through hard times, if you know that you help people, like if you have a heart of service, then you just tell yourself, man, this is really going to help somebody someday, you know?
yeah,
You can
absolutely.
relate to somebody that sees no way out, whenever they're doing that, for sure, you know?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Because it's that lived experience that you can just like support other people or just inspire other people. And I think you do that a lot in the community. Like, I'm going to be coming on the Grow Call in January 2nd.
Yeah, man.
But I do really think you are, because sometimes don't always see it in ourselves. I think you're a real inspirational person to motivate people and others. And big kudos to you for doing that for other people because you know
Appreciate it.
keeps
You know,
people going and sometimes when you're building something online as well, you want to give up. I had a message the other night off one of my students. She just literally sent me a message saying, I quit. Don't worry, I'm going to carry on paying for the monthly coaching that finishes March next year. But I quit. I just replied and went, you're not quitting.
not an option.
Sorry, it's not happening.
Yeah.
I was like, it's 10 o'clock at night. Get some rest. We'll speak tomorrow. But and then she just replied, went, thanks. Do you know what I mean? I was like, we'll work it
Yeah.
out, work out a plan. We'll get you back on track. And I think, and that's what we can do as coaches a lot of the time. We're just being there for people to keep motivating them to go, keep going forward. So
Yeah, well, you mentioned earlier about, coming online and all the different opportunities and all these things, right? And a lot of times, it takes a while. And it's like my experience is everything takes a while. Like one of my best performing ads, the first thing I say is everything in life that's worth a fuck is hard. And building your online business is no different, right? It's like if it was simple and you could come in and make a ton of money in 5 minutes, who would not do that? Right. It's like if you
exactly.
if you could just join a gym and walk in and all of a sudden you've got a six pack, who wouldn't do that? Right. It's like there's relationships, your health, your mindset, your spirituality, your recovery, your business, any of it. If it is worthwhile, it takes effort, period.
Yeah.
Right. Otherwise, it wouldn't be worthwhile because like things that are free have no value. You know what I'm saying? So it's
I
like,
do think these days we're moving. Well, I mean, look, you're in Florida. You're always miles ahead of us Brits. We're like the old-fashioned like laggers, aren't we? But everything is quick, isn't it? If we want to Uber Eats, we can get it in 15, 20 minutes. If we want, people are, you order stuff off Amazon, we get it next day or same day. It's like everything. When I think back to when I was, without sounding old, when I was a kid, I didn't have a mobile phone and things took longer to achieve, or like I'd save up for something that I wanted, whereas now people just buy it on credit or they can get it on payment in 3 or 5 or whatever. Yeah, everything's like accessible now. And so I think that kind of culture kind of, because I've had it with courses and coaching programs and other, online business owners will agree that sometimes someone purchases something that could be a course, but they're not prepared to do the work. But in their mindset, I've done that now. I've built an Amazon business because I bought this program. No, no,
right.
no. You've got to now actually do the work. I'm going to guide you to do it. And I definitely think, because I sometimes worry about my boys thinking, I saw my son the other day, like get all dressed up, do some TikTok, and then he got changed. I was like, what are you doing? Do you know what I mean? And it's like all this front that we're putting on, or that
Yeah.
they seem impatient about things that they want. You know, it's like, I want this now. My son came with me to go and buy the Mac the other night because he knew he was hanging on thinking, oh, yeah, she's going to buy me something. And I thought, yeah, I might buy him something for $20 or 20 quid or whatever. And he comes over with this like mouse, this gaming mouse that was like £130. And I was like, that's a Christmas. We're 4 weeks away from Christmas. He just was in a mood all the way home. Yeah,
Yeah.
I've seen your bank balance. You've got the money. I was like, what are you looking at my bank balance for? Do you know what I mean? I was
Right.
like- so it's like, I want it now. It's this attitude of wanting it now.
Well, it's like this, right? I forget who, probably David Goggins or somebody said this, but it's like people want to be comfortable. Okay. So it's like when you can order Uber Eats right now, there's no discomfort in getting up, getting the food, preparing your dinner, and making something healthy. That
Yeah,
takes time and that takes effort, right? Where you can just order it and have it at your house. Well, guess what? It's not going to be good for you. I don't care where Uber Eats delivers from nowhere healthy, right? They just don't. Okay. Like it's not, you know what I mean? Because most places that you can get that food from are just not healthy places to eat. Now, I'm not saying she never eat that, right? What I'm
yeah.
saying is
But
it's
it's
it's a
moderated.
perfect
Yeah,
it's the perfect example of if something is worthwhile, it takes effort. If you want to eat healthy and be healthy, guess what? You need to cook your food, or you need to buy healthy food that's cooked, or whatever. You know what I mean? It's like that's the mindset, and people come in our online world, right? In world in general, but we see it a lot. And it's like, okay, I paid the money, I've got this course, I followed everything you said to do. It's 3 months later, why aren't I rich?
yeah,
And people that come in and they say, well, I'm going to do this, 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 and this. It's been my experience. If I'm trying to do 5 things at once, I'm not doing any of them to the best of my ability, right?
yeah,
They hear these things that say like, your average millionaire has 7 income streams. Like, true, but they got rich on one, and then they
exactly.
added the other ones, right? Because they got real good at doing something, and then they had the ability and the opportunity to add these other things to what they do, right? So it's like when people come in and they say, I want to do all these things, I'm like, well, why? Right?
Yeah,
That's first, is why. And if the answer is just to make money, you're probably going to quit because it's hard. This whole entrepreneur thing, building your own business, I don't care what anybody tells you. Like, it has amazing parts, but it's hard, you
yeah.
know? And people, they don't want to hear that. They just want to hear that they can do these things and they're going to get this result. And that's not reality most of the time in my experience, right?
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
like, you talk about people coaching, they buy something, they don't do it, and they want the result. Like, that's why I don't do any like group coaching, and that's why I only have a couple, small amount of private clients, because if you're not going to do the work, I don't want to coach you. I don't want to invest my time just to take your money, because
Exactly.
I don't care about that. I want to help you impact your life. You know what I mean? Like, I want to help you, go from great to exceptional. I want to help you, do these things. And most people aren't willing to do the work consistently. People will show up for a little bit of time, right? But it's the consistency
It
factor. Like,
is
right
the
now, it's
consistency.
December 1st today, right? We're recording this December 1st. Okay. My gym this morning, empty. Parking lot, empty. Okay. In, in 1 month from today, January 1, that bitch
It'll
will
be
be back.
full.
It
Yeah.
will be full. Okay. For about 6 weeks, I won't be able to get on anything I want to do. You won't be able to park. It's gonna be packed. And then in mid-February, it'll be normal again. Because
Yeah.
there'll be one or two, maybe three people that stay, and they show up and they create the habit and they change their life and they impact it. And it's that way to me in just every area of life, man. Like, that's how it is. There's
Yeah.
a few people that show up every day and do something consistently, and then you either win or you quit in your
It-
business. Like, you either
it's
win or you quit.
definitely the consistency that always wins out. Isn't it?
Huh.
Do you know what I mean?
Big
It's
life change doesn't happen. Big life change doesn't happen in one grand swoop, right? Like, that's not how it works. It happens from just showing up every day. And then people think, oh man, they just got successful overnight, or they had
yeah.
this big win overnight. I'm like, yeah, you didn't see everything that they've been doing for the last however many years, right? Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
Exactly. It's so true. And like you say, it's like in every area of your life, isn't it? And like sometimes when people talk about sort of like business coaches, people show off, don't they, for having like a personal trainer. Sometimes they actually people show off a business coach, but like counseling and mindset and stuff, sometimes people don't want to because they're embarrassed about it. It's like they should be perfect already. It's funny, isn't it? Like the different balance of like what kind of coaches or people that can keep you on track that people are proud about, and then other ones they might be a bit quiet on. But the lady that I had therapy with, she said, I have a therapist. She says, there's nothing like, traumatic in my life right now, but I want to improve my growth, my mindset. And so I always want to check in because life's stressful. And that's why I had it. I thought, yeah, I really like that. I really like that outlook on it. And I think it's
Yeah.
just always, like you say, really important to keep on growing and keep on building.
Yeah, Jim Rohn used to say, right? Like Darren Hardy is someone who I resonate with a lot, and
Yeah.
Jim Rohn was his mentor, and he said, look, you need 10% of whatever it is you want to make, you need to invest that in yourself every year. If you want to make $200,000 a year, you need to invest $20,000 a year into you, personal, right? And becoming better at whatever, and people just it blows their mind, but it's like you find somebody that's good in a different area of life, than you because nobody's great. I mean, like the best people in the world have coaches. You know what I'm saying? It's like I've had a meditation coach, I've had a therapist, I have a recovery coach, my sponsor,
Yeah.
right? I've had business coaches, you've been my product coach. I've
Yeah.
had a coach for like you name it, right? Because I want to be
Same.
better
Yeah. Same.
at
It's
all
funny,
these
isn't
different
it?
things.
People go and buy a car for like 20,000, wouldn't they? But
Yeah,
that's to kind of show off their ego because we
that's
do.
right.
Everyone's got a bit of an ego. But yeah, invest in yourself. That's when people are like, oh, I can't possibly do that. But
You
it's
mentioned
where
earlier the different businesses, right? The different online businesses. And it's like, I invest a lot of money in myself to learn these skills, right? And I started the affiliate marketing path, but in that, all of those skills have translated to
exactly.
all my other businesses, right? So it's like when we got into this, the blockchain, or if it's like network marketing or whatever, people are still using these antiquated systems to build teams and generate revenue, where I'm like, oh, I can use a landing page for this. I can
Yeah.
use a responder email for this. I know how to take a video and shoot a how-to and then send it out. And then I've only had to spend 3 minutes instead of that one thing for 1,000 people. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
But I would never have known that had we not invested in ourselves, put the work in, learn the skills on the front end, right? So it's like it's an investment, not an expense.
Definitely,
Yeah.
definitely. Yeah. I haven't actually worked out what I've spent over the years, but it's a lot. You know,
Yeah.
making me
Right.
think back on it. But
And it doesn't matter
I've
because
got a
because you've got the benefit.
I've
Yeah.
got a coach at the moment that's helping me write a script for my movie. And he's done Netflix. He's been a producer for Netflix and stuff. And that isn't like a monetary thing. It's just like I've always wanted to do it, you know. Like we were saying before, like if you're doing something that's all just about money, you're going to be disappointed and you're going to quit. You've got to have like that kind of purpose or interest or overall goal of your lifestyle that's going to keep you going. Because you are going to hit roadblocks or curveballs or whatever, and it's going to you've got to have that passion to keep on going. So for people who are listening to this and like, wow, this Danny from Florida, they're from the UK, and like, hey, this hot man from Florida. I want him to help me. I want to reach out to him. Um, Obviously you've mentioned a lot of things that you can do, and with me saying that you are one of these like, an inspirational character. How can you help people? I know you're quite selective. I know that. I know that you don't work with everybody. But what is the best way for people to reach out to you?
Well, my email is just danny@livinggrateful.com.
Yeah.
One G, Living Grateful, all one word. My website is livinggrateful.com. And from there, that's like I call that the mothership, right? That's like the homepage. Like
Yeah.
that'll take you to to my different businesses that do different stuff. But that's the best way to reach me. As far as like the coaching goes, I only do a few people with that, and it's pretty in depth. It's
Yeah.
I believe like it's mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally, financially, right? And like that's healthy. That is, that's to be a high performer. I think we need to kind of I don't believe in like total balance. Like I've never been able to
I'm
perfect
like,
that, right? But I believe in harmony, right? So I believe we need to at least address these areas and do something in these areas to live the kind of life that that we want to live. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, but I
I
mean,
feel the
we do
same.
some cool
Yeah,
stuff.
I feel the same with balance because it's like, I might be doing like a launch in my business. I might be spending more time doing that, and another week, might be something going on. Like my son's been picked for Fame. He's performing in the Fame musical at school. And he's Leroy. Surprise, surprise. And like there might be a week where that is my focus. So you might be spending time on that. If you've got like this perfect balance all the time, it's just recognizing if something's taking a hold, or you're spending a bit too much time doing that, or you're not looking after yourself. Is where I think it's just good to be aware of
Yeah,
of the balance, if you know what I mean. Because I talk about probably similar to yours is my three pillars. So freedom in love, which is more about self-care and love and just like the love we give out to the world. Freedom in money, because financial freedom is important, but it's not the be all and everything. It just helps the lifestyle part. And then freedom in mind, because that sort of encompasses the whole thing really. And those are like my three pillars that created me equilibrium really. Because when I wasn't looking after myself, the seesaw balance was like that. When I was sort of struggling or firefighting with the bills, it was like that. And then obviously mind, the word mind doesn't really do it justice. It's deeper than that for me. For me, I learned a lot around my mindset that it was actually okay to say that I wasn't okay. Instead of being like, fine, I'm fine, I'm fine, I'm fine. Do you know what I mean? Or just like, releasing that energy and just having a good old cry and then, yeah, I'm all right now. But just, knowing that I'm not perfect all of the time, I'll have to be perfect. So, what were yours again? What were your wealth?
it was
You had,
mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally, financially. Like those are the I don't know if they're called pillars, but like those are like the to me those different areas of our life. Like whenever I feel like I'm in flow and I feel like I'm, all of those are at least addressed, and they're never exactly even, right? But,
exactly.
but health to me, like there's mental health, there's emotional health, there's spiritual health, right? There's physical health, and there's financial health, right? It's like money's a horrible motivator in itself. But most people want money so they can spend time with the family, or so they can take the family on trips, or so that they
Yeah,
can retire their wife or their husband, right? That hates their job, or you know what I mean? It's like money's cool. Money's a tool, right? Money's a resource, right? And the more you have of it, you can solve bigger problems. And that's really kind of the gist of it. But a lot of people think they want money. It's not money that they want. It's what they think money's gonna money's gonna get them, right?
exactly, exactly.
And to me, it's like though, and everybody says it's about the journey, not the destination. And it sounds like a bumper sticker, but it's real. It's like if you don't enjoy the process and enjoy what you're doing, then what's the point anyway? You know what I mean? Like you're gonna do some shit you hate every day, and then all of a sudden you got some money and be like, you'd be grumpy, right? It's like, you know,
Exactly.
well, he's rich, but he's an asshole. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And the thing is, there are people like that, though, aren't there?
There's a lot of people like that, right? Well, because they think that the money is going to fill this void. The money is going to fill this whole life. When I get this, then I'll be happy. When I
Yeah.
get this, then I'll be grateful, instead of just being grateful and happy
Grateful
now.
anyway.
Have the ability to
Exactly.
strive for that. You know what I mean? It's like if somebody's listening to this podcast, you at least got a phone. I mean, or a computer, right? So
Mm.
you're better off than a lot of people on the planet. You know what I mean? So there's these things that we can do just to show gratitude, live a grateful life, and do it consistently, because that's what it's about, right? It's like
Yeah. Yeah.
it's about showing up every day, and just doing something, putting the work in on your business every day, because nothing just happens grand. Like if it's your relationship or whatever, it's like if you got, your partner, you can't like just ignore them and be shitty 90% of the time and then go on a big vacation every year. Like that's you're not gonna have a good relationship. You gotta like do things consistently, right? To
Exactly.
to nurture that. And that's friendships, that's your business, that's your anything, your health, right? Like you can't just eat like shit for a month and then go work out really hard for 10 hours one day. Like that's not how it works.
No,
You know?
exactly, exactly. I
Yeah.
love it. I love it. I know we could talk on this topic all day.
Yeah.
For people who are listening or watching us on YouTube, we'll put livinggrateful.com, the link in the show notes and also in the comment section, so you can reach directly to Danny and just check out what he's all about. Maybe you might see some of his e-commerce products. Maybe you can reach out with him with his coaching, but just understand everything that he's doing. He's a very, as you can tell, very inspirational guy, but really breaks it down really simply for you to understand. And it always makes sense whenever I speak to you.
Appreciate
I always ask everybody, what does freedom mean to you? And what we do sometimes on the birthday episode is we chop the answers back to back. So hear me go, what does freedom mean to you? And then all these different answers. It's quite funny, actually. It's quite interesting hearing different people's answers. So what does freedom mean to you, Danny?
So, that's a broad, it means different things in different areas of my life. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like the first thing that comes to my mind is freedom from active addiction. I'm not a slave anymore in that world. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
But like in the work that I put in every day, the overall life, it's like I have control of my calendar. You know what I mean? Like I have
I
my
like
time. If it's on my calendar, I like to keep things simple. You know what I mean? So that's it. If it's on my calendar, I chose it to be there. And if I want to remove it, I can choose to remove it. You know what I'm saying? So if I need to take my dog to the vet this afternoon to get his shots, I don't have to ask anybody, man. I can go do that. That's happening today at 3:30. If I want to have a podcast, with my peeps over in the UK, all I gotta do is schedule it out. I don't have to ask
yeah,
anybody.
yeah,
When my
yeah.
best friend, if I had cancer, all I had to do is say, hey, I'm gonna be gone for like a month and a half and go take care of them. I
Exactly.
don't have
Yeah,
to ask for time off, right? So to me, freedom is having my time. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I like that. I like that. And I like that. And the way you put it. See, you put it in a really nice, simple way so that everyone understands. Because it is. It's being able to just decide what's in your calendar.
So I'm not
Yeah.
that smart, so I gotta keep it simple, right? So it's simplify to execute, man. It's like that's it. Like I have control of my calendar. Like it's that
Exactly.
that's
I like
that's
that.
it. It makes me just real quick. I'd say it's really fast. So like, my mom and I were driving one day, like I was back in my hometown. I took her to lunch or whatever. And she's like, well, what's your afternoon look like? So I listed all the things I had. She goes, I feel so sorry for you. And I'm like, why do you feel sorry for me? She's like, you're just so busy. And I go, Mom, my life is full. I go, everything I have, like I chose to put there. I want to go do that. I was
Yeah.
like, how many people do you know that can say that in your whole life experience that everything on their calendar that's full, they chose and they want to do? She's like, well, I didn't think of it that way. And it's like, that's what it's about, man. You know,
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. It is. It is. It's all for me. It's the whole lifestyle thing. Like sometimes people say, "God, I can't believe you're doing all those things." I'm like, "Yeah, but I really love it."
that's it.
I
People say,
mean,
why do you get up at 4 o'clock? Can't you wake up whenever you want? I'm like, yeah, I want to wake up at 4 o'clock. Hard. You know what I mean? You guys are awake bugging the shit out of me at 4 o'clock. Like,
yeah, exactly. Exactly. Oh, it's
yeah,
brilliant. It's been brilliant to get you on the show. I'm sure
good.
everybody listening will agree. Danny is an inspirational dude that I know from Florida, and my life is much more richer for knowing Danny. Whenever we get together, and obviously we're going to be getting together in January, which is going to be awesome because I can't wait to just like blow that energy into the community to kickstart the year because sometimes sometimes you come across people and your energy gets zapped. And I think that's one thing that I've learned over the years is as well as choosing your own calendar, is choose the people you want to be around. Because, some people build you up, some people just drain your energy. And that's probably why we both don't watch the news. Because
Zero.
you watch
Zero.
some of that news, you still hear little bits that feed into social platforms, don't you? Or you hear other people talking about it. But sometimes I'm like, what? I haven't even heard that. Um,
Mhm.
but it's feeding your soul and growing from there. And I think having Having you on this podcast does that. So thank you ever so much for sparing the time.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much. I've enjoyed it, man. I always love hanging out with you. And thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. Bye. Thanks for listening to another episode of Your Freedom Podcast. And don't forget to subscribe on iTunes and subscribe on my YouTube channel. And if you want to get more freedom in your life, then come and join Your Freedom Project Facebook group, which the link is below in the comments section. And I am giving you a copy of my visualization manifesting book. So manifest more freedom in your life and live the life of your dreams.
Hey, thank you for listening. Hope you had a blast. Here to elevate your life. It's the Freedom Podcast. Love, money, mine. Love, money, mine. Wanna see you all win. Wanna see you all shine. Just make sure that you subscribe. Bringing good vibes. Join the Facebook group. Now it's time to change your life. Hope you come back. Right now is the chance. This is an experience. It's the Freedom Podcast. Hey.